Hey everybody, it's Jillian. My hair. I didn't dry my hair this time, but last night, yesterday, I dried my hair and then I put it in a bun, and then I took it out, and that's why it was all kinky last night. When I took it out. But anyways, it's okay. It's my hair, but it's actually growing out, and I don't see as much gray. I mean, there's still some from the prior world, but the hair is growing. I can see the difference. So anyways, I wanted to clarify, I had a really awesome revelation, I don't know, awareness. And that comes from my trolls. So I want to thank Daryl Staples. And I didn't think I'd ever be thanking Daryl Staples, but I'm going to acknowledge Daryl Staples. I don't always read your emails, okay? It comes through spam. You troll me, you do. I mean, I'm not going to worry about it. You're not dangerous. My FBI agent talked to you through email, so he determined that you're not dangerous. If they want to trace where you are, they can trace where you are. But I know you have been very boisterous about my information. And I also know that, I also have read other emails from other trolls that you hang out with too, but I don't really read them anymore. But sometimes, for whatever reason, I do read them because I posted something or did a video on something that I know would probably trigger people. And so then I'll go and read and see what it is they have to say about that. Because in a lot of ways, if you have this assumption about what I'm doing and you haven't voiced that assumption or voiced your perception, and you don't get a response on how I characterize what I'm doing, then you'll make these assumptions and live as if those assumptions are true. And they're not necessarily true. What you think about what I'm doing is not always true as far as my intention. People have a perception of my intention is to harm people. People have a perception of my intention is to, I don't know, come off like I'm holier than thou. And that's not the case. It may seem like that way because of how I've been characterizing stuff or come off, but that's my own frustration on the world and the world that I live in and how crazy it is and how much suffering that's going on. So anyways, when you were saying yesterday through the email that, oh, your YouTube channel is shit, it's a failure. I mean, he laid it into me. He said, you're a failure. Your YouTube channel is a failure. You look puffy, you look ugly, you look this way. People only follow you because they're watching a train wreck. I mean, I'll tell you, he does not leave any stone unturned when it comes to insults, when it comes to just, anything that would break someone else down who isn't strong enough to deal with that kind of criticism, because that's some pretty harsh criticism. And to read that, if you were a weaker person, you would fold, you would fall apart from that. But not me. I'm like, okay, so this is what he thinks about my YouTube channel. This is what he thinks about the whole J world. It's not like anything new. I've been reading this for the last 6 years, okay? But I wanted to clarify what my YouTube channel is for. It's not to make money. It's not monetized, okay? It's there for people who I've blocked on Facebook, and so they have the YouTube channel to go and say shit or use as whatever they want to use. But I'm giving information to people who I've blocked on Facebook. So really it's for my trolls. When you think about it, my YouTube channel is for my trolls. So if I have 2,000 trolls that go to my YouTube channel, fine. You're getting the information because I blocked you, but you're still getting information. You can still make a choice. You can't claim ignorance, right? So my YouTube channel is not to make money. I mean, when I've been posting all the activist stuff about the V's, they've already said you have one warning against so they can't monetize it. I have already a warning, and that's it. I don't have any strikes, but I have a warning. That warning will demonetize you for the rest of your life, and I'm fine with that. Okay. As far as my website, it's just there for me to write stuff, to keep track of my thoughts publicly as well as privately for myself. So that way, eventually, when I do develop a book, I have some notes there to go from. So my website is for all of you out there as well as for myself. And I jot down the key things that I want to remember down the road. Okay, so it's another note-taking area. My Facebook is for my own, awareness, to help me hear myself, and then you guys hear me. Because you don't have these kind of awarenesses unless you hear yourself talk. That's why I've developed and discovered so many different things is because I hear myself talk, and then something clicks over here, something clicks over here. And so then yesterday, after explaining that, yeah, I'm not looking to make a bunch of money. I've made whatever money that needs to be made as far as the J world back in 2018, when I went off of Facebook, got into my website, had my own group in the website, had moderators. People were paying to be part of the group, $30 a year, whatever. I was charging for my time at the time because people were bothering me left and right, and I didn't want to go over the same thing all of time and time again. Read the files. So then I would say, okay, here. And then dealing with people's demons, nah, that's just too much. You really have to be paid very well and be a licensed professional to deal with other people's demons. So then that, so then I was paying Lillian, and I bought people computers that were my moderators. I flew out to Wisconsin to help Lillian train her on the stuff that I wanted her to do. My AdSense, Google AdSense was blowing up because everyone was going to the website. Okay. And so now that world is over with, but I still put out 3 different books. Okay. And they were all for you. I made my money. I made even my return on that investment. And then some on top of that, reinvested back into you guys, into myself. And so now the book that's out there, I'm not looking to make a shit ton of money. If I do, that's great. If I don't, I don't care either. I'm not worried about that. There's so many ways to make money out there. That's not the only way. All right. So don't get it twisted that I'm out to get money. Because if I really wanted to get money, I'd be selling drugs. I'd be selling sex. I'd be selling so many things out there that are a sure thing to make money. But no, this is for my own development, because eventually, I will go into other things, and I have to develop my thought process. I have to figure out what the hell I'm selling. I'm not selling pain. That's what people are under the impression. I'm selling pain. No, I'm not selling pain. I'm not selling misery. I'm not selling, I'm not selling the things people think I'm selling. No, I'm selling sobriety. I am selling sobriety. That's how you're going to get tapped into your pineal gland. People are like, oh, about the pineal, decalcifying the pineal gland, and they're taking all these different remedies and surgeries and things and that so they can tap into their pineal gland. And I'm like, okay, so when you end up dead, are you really tapping into your pineal gland to help you? Or are you tapping into it just to keep plucking your hormones and then die at some point, right? No, what am I selling? I'm selling sobriety. I am selling sobriety on such a level. And the things that cause you pain are all the different life forms that you bring in your world that eventually deteriorate. And that deterioration process comes suffering. From that suffering comes pain. From that pain comes the drugs, comes the distractions. It's not a surprise that people who are elderly, who are dealing with so much pain, have so many animals. Why do they have so many animals? Because the animals elicit oxytocin. That oxytocin is like a painkiller. And so animals are used as painkillers for those who are suffering. But then eventually the animal suffers too, because they deteriorate, which is why you're seeing the animal food recalls. Because animals are deteriorating. They can't handle the food supply because they're not evolving to this environment. The food is triggering inflammation. They're in pain. The owners are in pain. They're getting even more of the aggressive drugs to stop the pain. It causes more intolerances to the environment. And so then the food supply diminishes, and the FDA and the food companies can't even keep up with the changing environment. And so food gets recalled, and then eventually there'll be nothing left for the animals to eat and for some humans, because some humans are that decrepit, that intolerant to evolution, to everything, that even the food supply that's there, no matter what it is, I don't care what it is, whether it's organic or GMO or lab created or whatever, they can't handle anything. And that's when you know how bad society is, how bad off society is when they keep recalling foods, because 99.9% of society cannot handle a hamburger. When 99.99% of society cannot handle corn, can't handle flour, can't handle gluten. That's how you know how fucked our society is and how fucked people are in the body, mind, and spirit, when they can't even handle the mainstream food supply. And then they're demonizing Coca-Cola, all these different companies. And so what I'm selling is sobriety. I'm not selling sobriety like, oh, okay, you were a drug addict and now you're not anymore and everything is wonderful and now you just switched from one addiction to another. No, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about 100% sobriety. where, yeah, you are still sort of taking part in the old world. Like, I'm married. My husband has his needs. Okay. I take care of them on some level. I don't go overboard. I don't do it. And I don't do it all the time. Whatever, you know what it is, right? Marriage relations. Okay. So I'm still in the old world. So I could still do that. And it's not taking away too much from me. I'm not doing it to where it depletes him, because, when guys do so much of that stuff and they're releasing all their demons, it's actually not the demons that are detrimental to them. It's them that when they're releasing their sperm, they're releasing particles of them. They're being depleted when they are obviously always using sexual relations as a way to release. And so that's how the system has also controlled the male lifespan, is because the porn industry does that. They get all hot and bothered, and then their body goes into where it takes away aspects of them, percentages of them. So they're saying, oh yeah, men should be masturbating like 21 times a month, like once every day. Okay. I'm telling you, seminal conservation could actually keep you alive longer, but people are like, oh, that's suffering, it hurts, they get blue balls and all the other shit. Well, I'm saying, well, hold on a second. If you take away that desire, that major desire, that aggressive desire, you won't have to suffer. I'm not saying deplete it altogether, because we don't want to have all-out human extinction, but this aggressive need for sex is why many people are suffering, because they haven't controlled their hormones. And so, yeah, you can take part in the old world on some aspect, right? This is for the J world, but you're not going to be doing all the cannabis because you won't be in pain. You're not going to be bringing home 50 million animals because they all have the cuteness and the oxytocin, so you can feel good and be like, oh, look, cute, distraction. Because that's the thing with my animal. I was suffering watching her deteriorate. I wanted to keep her alive, but you can't make an animal sober. They have to be on the drugs and then die. That's not the world that I want to live in. I don't want to have to drug my dog at some point so that she can stay alive, or put her under operations. That's not how I want the world to be. Okay? And you can't make something so sober and deal with the evolution unless they were set up properly for it and the environment was relatively calm. So obviously, humans have to then provide their own sobriety and deal with their own pain. But what we're selling in the J world is sobriety, is saying, okay, no more of the trying to live up to the misogynistic needs of men and women who are looking to get off on body parts. We're not looking for we're not looking for people to take away the pain. We're saying, face it, eventually the pain will be less and less and less and less. And also your hormones that are causing you the suffering, where you have to go and look for things to alleviate your stuff, will be less and less and less. And so you can still partake occasionally in the things that are fun out there, like alcohol. Maybe someone's passing around a joint. You smoke a little joint here and there. Okay. Or maybe, you might have sex with somebody occasionally. Okay, great. Your body parts still work, but you're not overdoing it and destroying yourself at the same time, abusing yourself. When you have to be on drugs in order to go to work, that's like your job is killing you. That's the thing, is that what we're selling is sobriety. Some people cannot be sober because the pain of their suffering from such a long history of abuse to their body and being in the medical holistic system, they can't handle being sober. They cannot be sober. Sobriety is not in the cards. And that's the difference between myself and those that are against the J world, which is why Daryl Staples and I have an issue with each other, but he can't seem to leave me the fuck alone. So fine, I'll deal with it when I want to deal with it. He's also giving me awareness. When people are attracted to you, you still can put down boundaries, but then when you choose to read their stuff, you don't have any, leg to stand on by saying, oh my God, they're harassing me. I've chosen to read spam. Okay, so I acknowledge my accountability there. But that's the reason why I have such a hater crowd, because they are under the influence. They are not sober. They will never be sober. There's too much trauma in their life for them to actually be sober. And so what I'm trying to get to are those that have not been so traumatized in the past where they have to be under the influence of something. If I can get you before you've been so fucked up and traumatized by somebody, or that if I get you before you have put yourself even more under trauma in the medical holistic system, and then you're strong enough, you're young enough, and you're mobile enough and versatile enough to be able to face the pain, stay home, not partake in all the crazy things out there, like the drugs and the alcohol and the crazy ass sex and the and the adrenaline, pleasure-seeking lifestyle, if I can get you before that happens, oh my God, that's a generation, that's a segment of people that will actually survive climate change and not take everyone down with them. Okay? That's who I am gearing towards. I am not gearing towards those who are so fucking traumatized that sobriety is out of the question. But that's what I'm selling, is sobriety and whatever comes along with it. And sometimes sobriety comes along awareness, mental clarity, innovation, strength and persistence and consistency in certain things. And you're not always going to look beautiful all the time, okay? I mean, sobriety means that you are evolving and changing with the conditions of the environment. You're not trying to be cured. You're not, always looking to the past all the time as, whatever. You're not looking at horoscopes as a way to determine your future or your day or your present. I mean, you are developing yourself every single fucking day just by what you choose to focus your mind on, what you choose to study, what you choose to evolve, what you choose to go in and tackle. I mean, somebody said that they're going to go and get a big roll-off trailer or dumpster, and they're throwing 40 years of fucking garbage out of their house away. That's awesome. That's a start. The J world is releasing all the hoarding of the damaged trauma cells, and then your house also reflects into your insides. And so then you can see what kind of trauma and what kind of damage people hold inside by just looking at their house or their lifestyle or belief system. That's what I'm saying. Yesterday when I posted that when you're hoarding animals, when you're hoarding knowledge, when you're hoarding anything, when you're collecting and hoarding all these different things, family, friends, whatever. What was I hoarding? I was hoarding food, right? Like top ramen, hoarding whatever. You see then what we are overcompensating for, what we are compensating for because of shortcomings in the past, because of trauma, childhood traumas, adult traumas. Once you realize where to look and how to look at people and who you bring into your life, you see how they live, you see what kind of shit goes on, you know what kind of trauma, you know what kind of demons you'll be dealing with, and if it's worth it or not. And so right now, at this point, I'm going to say, I'm not bringing any more pets in this house at all until the environment calms down. Because even if I bring a kitten in here, even if I bring a puppy in here, in this climate change, something will go wrong. Something will come up because they're being bred from genetics that already have issues. It's just a matter of time of when it's going to trigger. And that's a suffering. That's what causes humans to suffer and then get on drugs and get on things, because their animal is suffering. And when your animal starts deteriorating, like I seen somebody on Facebook saying, "Oh my God, my Chihuahua is acting funny. She's trying to get close to me, staying close to me." And they're like, and they sense that something's going on with their animal. That's the beginning of the suffering. And then when you put them on drugs and there's the side effects and there could be breakthrough infection and that drug isn't strong enough or isn't the right drug. And then that's the beginning of the end, when you are constantly trying to take away the suffering. And this environment is not built for small animals. They're only built for small animals when you have already come to terms with you're going to lose them sooner than later, because we have no idea what kind of frequencies are going to come up in the next month and the next year. And so that's not, so when you're in an unstable atmosphere like this, having an animal, in my opinion, is just the path to suffering, unless you're using them for food or a therapy. That's my opinion. People think differently, that's fine. And so, right now I am putting my mind to cooking, the chemistry of cooking, showing you, on Facebook what Hollywood stars are going through as far as the collagen and all the different fillers they put in. When your body is deteriorating and wasting away and you put fillers in your body, when the sand or when the ocean dries up, you see everything at the bottom of the ocean. That's what's going on with people as they age, with all the fillers and the plastic surgery and the Botox and all that stuff. When they age, you will see everything at the bottom of the ocean. And you're like, wow, I didn't know that was there. Oh, wow, I didn't know you cheated there. You look so beautiful, but now, you're like, 60, 70 years old and you have this filler just hanging off your face because your face is so gone. And that's the only thing that didn't deteriorate because it was synthetic. Hi, honey. And so, yeah, so, me exposing Hollywood, I wanted to show you that you don't need to do all that. You can actually use the food supply to fill in your face, the collagen, get to release the demons. You don't need all that fucking Botox. Be happy with what you have, and then your genetics and how you adapt to your environment will determine your structure. And so, but then we were in industries, we're in social networks, we're in different associations that require us to look a certain way, to be a certain way. And that's where people get trapped in the Botox, the plastic surgery, being under the influence. And so sobriety is out of the question. And so when most of society is under the influence, you really think sobriety is an easy sell? No, it isn't. Sobriety is not an easy sell. Not at all. Not at all. And so, yeah, I already know what I'm fighting an uphill battle. So that's what I'm saying. There is no expectation to make money in the J world. It never was. People thought it was way back when. People are thinking, oh, yeah, I'm going to be part of the J world and we're going to make a shit ton of money. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then they realize, no, there isn't. And then those things fall away. People, they weren't get disenchanted, but they realized it wasn't a quick buck in the J world. And it wasn't a quick buck in their releasing the demons. People still wanted to go and find the shortcuts, the things that were the easy go-tos. And so that's why now it's just me acknowledging Audrey and John and the very small group of people that understand sort of where I'm coming from. Whether or not they actually exhibit it, well, it's not for me to say. But I have a very small circle, and even then, that circle is even smaller, okay? And you all know how I feel about certain things, so we all have a respect for each other, and that's exactly where I want it to be. That's exactly where I want to be. Because time is only going to tell if people understand the J world. I'm 49 years old. Do you know when people actually see the abuse on the body, when you think about it, it's in their late 50s. If they have access to plastic surgery and all that money stuff, right? Late 50s, 60s. But even when you look at Cher, she looks great, right, in photographs, but when you look closer, you can see that she is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I mean, her face looks great, her hair looks good. That's not difficult to kind of really to do what you got to do. But it's the bone structure. It's the bone structure, it's the strength, it's the vitality. It's also the way, you carry yourself, changing the way you do things, taking on new information and exhibiting that you can take on new concepts and articulate them. How many people out there in Hollywood are studying for another degree and they're in their 80s, 60s? Look at Gene Hackman, he's 93 years old. And he's had a great life, but now it's just surviving the climate change and hoping that that he just is not in too much pain when he passes away. But he's lost a lot of weight. You could see the collagen leave his face. You could see I mean, that's the thing. That's the aging process. So over time, you will see if your lifestyle is actually working for you or working against you. But since, but you see me every day. I don't live in a 10,000 square foot house. My husband is a trucker. He doesn't make a whole lot of money. I can't afford plastic surgery. I can't afford, I can afford Botox, but I'm not getting Botox. I don't like needles. I use CeraVe, and I did look at my cleanser and lotion, and it's CeraVe. So I use Walmart over-the-counter cleansers and lotions. I use regular shampoo from Herbal Essences. That's it. I'm not using any of that shit. Oh, so you're Asian, your genetics. You can only use the whole Asian genetics for so long as a justification of why I still can hold my youth. No, there's me facing the demons, releasing the demons, facing all that shit, staying sober for the most part has kept the collagen in my face, okay? Kept my hair or whatever. I mean, COVID definitely changed things. Definitely the frequencies changed stuff, but my hair is growing back. Okay? I don't have the diagnosable conditions. I took on bacteria, took on microbes that were really aggressive, and they're out of my body. They're not affecting me anymore. Okay? And so, I plan to stay sober for the most part. I don't have a lot of friends as far as going out, so I'm not going to be drinking all the time. It's when you're going out every weekend and you're trying to keep up with the Joneses that, yeah, alcohol. Because when you think about it, when you're going out every weekend at the bars or other places, concerts, what do the people do? They're taking something, whether it's drugs, alcohol, or something else. And, of course, each other's hormones is what also keeps them alive, right? If you're not doing that, you're not setting up a situation where you're going to be taking alcohol and drugs. But if you do partake or go to a party once a year, you'll be able to enjoy it. You haven't built up a huge tolerance against hormone manipulation. You don't want to be tolerant to hormone manipulation because then the drugs and the alcohol become stronger and stronger and stronger until you die. Okay, so, I'm married, so we don't have a massive amounts of sex, right? Though he would want it a lot, but I'm like, no, but he's on the road, and so the weekend. But I still keep that to a minimum because I don't want to deplete him. And luckily, he has morals and ethics. He's not going outside the marriage. He actually has some kind of control over his own urges and all that. And so there's that. So the drugs, alcohol, the sex, what else? Yeah, I don't need cannabis. I wake up every day and I drink coffee. I can see where cannabis, where you are suffering and dealing with things that are really aggressive, whether it's a situation in the home or with your own personal issues, I can see where cannabis is an escape hatch. But when you don't have the suffering around you on a continuous basis, there's no reason to escape. You only have an escape hatch when you are dealing with something that you can't control or that you can control, but you've got to deal with it. A chronic condition. A chronic condition could be a sick dog. A chronic condition could be a sick person in your home. A chronic condition could be something sick in your body trying to release. Chronic condition could be the people you hang out with that are sick, but you still have to be friends with them and hang out with them because that's what your life is built on. And so, yeah, when you release all the suffering around you and you're not suffering yourself, there's no reason to be under the influence. It's when you're around suffering all the time, you have to be under the influence. So I'm selling sobriety. Oh God, but that's not a life. Let me tell you, I go to the grocery store sometimes. I go outside sometimes. I get into the car and hang out with my husband. I cook him food. We go do things, whatever. And when the weather breaks, we'll go and hike someplace. That's not a life. We'll go fishing. I'll learn how to fish certain things. He'll teach me how to do that and whatever. What kind of life do you think I should have? What is life to you? Oh, life is just living it up so hard that you are so depleted every single weekend? Is that what life is? Is where you're drunk and having sex and doing drugs and always out there with somebody else and can't be on your own? Is that what life? Okay, everyone has their own version of what life is. It's not for you to say that that's not life or it is life. And that's life to somebody else. If that's their life, that's great. But what am I selling? I'm selling sobriety. And then there's so much awareness with sobriety. And then there's so much room to do so many things with sobriety. And then you don't have you don't have so much tolerance built up as far as hormones that when you do pluck your hormones for whatever reason, intentionally, it is so enjoyable because you haven't abused your hormones. You haven't abused anything in your body. And so you can actually enjoy everything in life without having to make your drugs stronger, your alcohol stronger, your friends stronger, your lifestyle stronger and more aggressive and more adrenaline rushing. Yeah, that's the thing. People build up a tolerance. They condition themselves to abuse themselves until they destroy themselves. And that's why some of the very privileged have a very short life, because they've been given everything. Here, go ahead. Go do your adrenaline, pleasure-seeking ventures. And here, have a bunch of women and drugs and alcohol and cigarettes and this and that. I've stopped smoking. Remember I was smoking a couple years ago? I don't have any urge to smoke. None. When my dog was going through her process, let me tell you, I was going through some suffering that, I didn't partake so much, but you could see where the temptation, when you're around an animal suffering, okay, because they're going through their processes and you don't want to put them down because you love them. When you have people you're taking care of that are suffering, people will be tempted to be under the influence. When they're suffering, they will be under the influence. But you can't get rid of suffering altogether. Oh, yeah, you can. And you can lessen your own suffering so you don't take on the drugs and the alcohol and the crazy ass lifestyle. When you lessen your suffering, and then that means then your circle of people won't be as suffering either, because they'll either be dead or you have separated yourself from those who purposely make themselves suffer. And so suffering is something that's voluntary too. Okay? But people don't know that because our whole world is built on depending upon somebody else and suffering astronomically and not being sober. Sobriety, when you think about it in the most 100% truest sense, is a bad word. People that take on the word sobriety like, oh yeah, I switched from alcohol to cannabis, and they call themselves sober. Okay, fine. You switched from alcohol to cannabis, a more socially acceptable way to deal with your demons. Is that sober? But to them, the alcohol was vastly more destructive than the cannabis. But even then, cannabis can destroy people. But the cannabis is socially more acceptable. Just because you are in a socially more acceptable, destructive, under the influence process doesn't mean it's not destroying you. But again, people have gone through, they're at where they're at. Some people will never get out of being under the influence. So you say, thank you for your service. You suffered so much. Thank you for your service, because you have contributed to our world in some way, even under the influence you have. So I'm not knocking I'm not diminishing your journey in life. I'm just taking it really to a very next level. And so 100% pure sobriety, and then autonomy, and then you carefully picking and choosing how your hormones are going to get plucked so somebody else doesn't destroy you and their lifestyle, and you won't have a need for somebody else's lifestyle to prop you up. You will, in my opinion, you will enjoy life a lot better, a lot more, in my opinion. But then, of course, you have friends and family, and you have kids and grandkids and all this. They'll pluck your hormones like that. It'll be very easy to fall into the spell of the oxytocin that they elicit. That's what I'm saying. Friends and family are very hard to control as far as being under the influence of their spells of hormones and what they give off. Okay? So I'm not saying that you should stop seeing your grandkids or having an animal, but be aware of what they bring up. Be aware of the addiction to those feelings. Because then when you don't have those feelings, you'll find something to replace that. Or you'll be like, I got to see my grandkids. I got to see that animal. I got to have this. I got to have that to bring that oxytocin in. All right, bye.